people. Get ready for the best podcast of your life. We've got Heart Attack over here along with Cody Too Short.
Welcome to Bros for Life podcast today. I'm Mike. I'm going to be doing this podcast on my own. It's actually been a while since we posted, and it's been one of those things where I think me and Cody were both trying to figure it out in the beginning about what we like to do or what we like to talk about, and we're both going to keep doing videos, I believe. It might be like each doing single videos, because even though there's not much going on, it is hard for us to be able to get away from our lives, like an hour a week for both of us at the same time. Like sometimes it just doesn't work out. And you have to do it for that hour that we have alone during the week or whatever. And sometimes we don't have time to do that. So this is me kind of just trying to put something out there because it's been a really long time since we posted anything. So episode number 5, the last episode was 1 month ago, so it's been a month. It's actually felt like probably 3 months to me, honestly, just because, like, when you're trying to do something like that, if you don't do it every day, you just feel like you're consistently losing it. So I'm happy that it hasn't been longer than a month. So I thought this would be just kind of like a platform for me to be able to talk about some stuff that, the stuff that's going on in the world, and a way for me to get it out and have a platform. So first I wanted to talk about COVID-19. And, from the beginning, I've been someone that said, like, we need to make sure if you're going out, you're wearing a mask and you social distance, and you don't go anywhere that isn't 100% necessary, like bars and, stuff like that, restaurants and wineries or whatever. I understand that it puts us like a huge problem on that industry, and a lot of industries and a lot of people are going bankrupt and who have lost their jobs, and they're in a really bad place. I understand that when you look at it that way, it is hard to be able to do both, but we have to, because otherwise people are going to keep dying. Our country is doing a really awful job at this right now, where other countries have stopped their curves. We're still going up and up and up and up. And where I live, like at the end of, I want to say it was like June 16th to 24th, we had like 300 cases. Or maybe it was like June 11th to 12th, something like that. Something not that big. Now we have 1,000 active cases. That's after you have all the people that have recovered. So there's 1,000. And so our county was put on the watch list. And after 21 days, if your curve hasn't been, cut enough, they're going to put your whole county back in lockdown. And we also had a sheriff who in the beginning said that he would not enforce any of these recommendations or anything. Now changing his tone because the curve is so bad. It's going up so high every single day. It seems like it's more and more and more. And I know people are saying it's because people were actually getting tested now. It's like the same thing. People are going out every day. It wasn't that bad when we had stuff locked down. The second we opened things back up, bam, people are exposed to everybody. Like, I'm guilty of it too. My wife wanted to go to a bar, and it's like an outside kind of door thing, so you can kind of get away from people, but we were with people at the same time, and you don't know who you're exposed to. You don't know who they were exposed to, and honestly, it made me super uncomfortable, and I haven't really done it since. And that's the problem, though. There are those people that are doing that every night or every day, and I just don't get it. Just stay home. Just do what they ask you. Think about other people. Stop thinking about yourself. Stop thinking about how you want to go out and eat and whatever. Figure out a hobby. Figure something that you like to do. Listen to music. Watch some movies. Do something. Do some at-home workouts. But people need to stay home. And here's the other thing, the schools. My wife just got hired at a high school. She's gonna be a first year teacher, and she doesn't. They don't know if they're even gonna go back to school at all. So the thing is that in other counties close to us, um, the school districts did surveys with the parents to see if they wanted to send the kids back to school or if they wanted them to stay home, and 90% of the parents say they want to send them back. So the parents don't want the kids home anymore, but what they can't do anything about it until we get this figured out. So the more people are going to the lakes and beaches on the weekends and you doing that kind of stuff, like if you can keep yourself, your party away from other people, great. But if it's crowded on Saturday at the beach, like maybe you should just stay home, But if you can go out somewhere by yourselves where you're not affecting other people and it's just your group of people, cool. I understand that, and you're following those guidelines. You're under 10 people or whatever, and you're not around other people. You're social distancing. You wear your mask. That's cool. But like, because of these people that are so anti, I guess, the system or the government, whatever, they are going to continue to create this problem for us. And I'm not sure when that curve is going to fall. I'm hoping, summertime it was supposed to cut this in half. It was supposed to stop it. It's not going to happen. So it's still going strong. How much stronger is it going to get? Is it going to keep changing and become attacking people in a different way? Because we can't get rid of it right now, and we haven't done anything more. It's just frustrating from my point of view that we can't. We could have been like on the back side of this by now, and now we're not. And now we're waiting for a vaccine, and another stimulus check, I guess. And I'm just kind of waiting it out. I can stay home. I have no problem with it. Every once in a while, yeah, it's nice to go out or go to the store and get groceries or whatever. But that's about it. I think as a nation, we're we are so quick to defend our rights and our privacy and everything, and sometimes we don't think that sometimes we have to give stuff up to protect everybody. And that's what's frustrating, is like sitting here trying to like think about everyone's point of view on it. And I think about, like, I'm willing to give up like time going out and doing things and being able to do things I do like to do so that other people don't get sick. Like, I'm willing to sacrifice that, but people will think that like these rights are so impenetrable that, come on, the government will, if they have to, they can take those rights away because they feel like they have to. They can do it. And complaining about wearing a mask, if you think that's going to stop it, or fighting them on that, you're just fighting an endless battle. I'm not saying like completely follow what the government says. I'm saying if it's for the safety of other people, just do it. Just get it over with, be done with it, and get through this time. Because the longer you argue about wearing the mask or not being able to go places, or that places are closed, the longer this is the kind of crap that we're going to have to keep dealing with. Anyways, off of that subject. The next thing I want to talk about is something that I really enjoy. Okay. Okay. So I want to take a chance to talk about one of my favorite artists out there, Juice WRLD. Passed away last December. Usually I never, ever, 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 ever listen to new music, like anything probably newer than like 2012 or 13, 14 maybe. There's a few things that would make it in there, but I happened to had the radio on in the car one day. I heard one of his songs. It was not Lucid Dreams, I don't think. It was something else, maybe Death Race or whatever. And I was like, it really caught me. So I was like, wow, I'm gonna look this guy up. So I ended up listening to, I found all his songs, and I listened to both his albums. I was like, he's got it. Like, there's just something different about him when you listen to his music. And he passed away from a drug overdose. Um, Coming back from LA, I think, to Chicago, um, the cops were alerted that there was narcotics on the plane, and he's had a pill addiction like since he was like 15 or 16, I guess. And so he swallowed, I think, all the Percocet that he had, and had a seizure in the airport, and he passed away. Um, and if you listen to his music, if you don't like it, whatever, it's fine. It's not a big deal. But like for me, a lot of his music is like on the darker side, and I'm kind of that way too. Um, dealing with depression, anxiety, and different things I've had to deal with recently. When you pull yourself through, a lot of that is like when you're in that place that's not good. You need music that you can depend on to build yourself back up off of. It's like a art. It's like a way for, like, you feel like someone else's can express for you what you're feeling. And that music was a lot for me. And it was sad for me when he died, because like he's 21 years old. You know what I mean? Like, we all mess up. We all do dumb things. Like, to be 21 and be at that point where he was, like, it's pretty good. And he would have gone, like, there's people saying like he was going to be the best ever. They said he was definitely the best songwriter in the business right now. There's no one that can freestyle like him. There's no one that has like the flow or the word ability or anything. If you're in the rap or whatever. But for me, I really love this music. I thought he was a really cool guy. Like, like, you feel like when someone writes a song and you feel like it's just meant for you, like, that's how almost all songs were. Just, even the fun songs were cool, and I just really enjoyed them. It was like being 16 again and blaring rap music, driving around with your friends. And so I've been waiting for this new album to come out, and so I actually ordered the vinyl on his website. Um, and then I ended up ordering the two other albums on vinyl too, just so I could have all three, um, and just to kind of celebrate like his life, because it sucks that he was only able to put out three albums, and he could have done so much more. I mean, that dude killed it for like 2 years. He worked with everybody and anybody. He had like, what was, like, 3,000 songs on his hard drive. Great songs, stuff they just couldn't put it anywhere. Like, they have to wait to release it. There's so much of it, and that's awesome. But it's sad at the same time that, like, you're not going to get to hear how his music developed or changed or anything like that. But Rip Juice World, 999, his new album, you guys should definitely listen to it. If anyone's actually even listening, I think we have like 5 subscribers right now. So we'll see if anyone actually picks this up and sees it. But this is a really, really good album. Like, honestly, I could listen to any of the 15 songs probably every day. I've listened to it since it came out. I got the early release on the 9th. So I listened to it all night. Then it got released on YouTube. So then I was listening to it on YouTube. And so since the 10th, so 2 or 3 days straight, it's a good album. It's really like, you hear things in the songs and you're like it really, what did he say? He said something about like, these pills are keeping me alive, but I know that they're going to kill me. Stuff like that you just like, it just seems so heavy, and it's such a dark place for someone to have to be in. And you feel for him if you've ever been in that kind of spot, or you've gone through those tribulations and stuff. It sucks. But they also added in 6 other clips that were like, him talking, or people talking about him. And Eminem talked about him, about how great of a freestyler he was, like how he was beyond his years and what he could do and his skill. And he had so much, more he could have done. And he said that he was gonna be great. I mean, I think when you get someone like that, and stuff like this happens, we might not even know who that person was. And it's not just him being a celebrity. I think we all need to like be more conscious when people pass away. We need to think about it. how that could be us. I'm not saying be sad or anything, but I'm saying be conscious of how important life is, and just value it a little bit more than we do. So next, I was going to talk about all the stuff going on with George Floyd and the how that came, and I'm gonna make it really clear that dude should be he should go to jail just like anyone else should for committing murder. And I'd heard some stuff that there was like a personal thing too. And you know what though? This shit has been going on for way too long, way too many years. You hear about this once or twice a year when it happens way more than when it makes national news. I don't know if people realize that, but it happens way more than they think. And you can look at like national numbers and say that there's more black on black crime or whatever you want to say. You can't say that this isn't true. And then you know what the crazy thing is? This happens and people are flipping out, and protesting, and more of it comes out. And you just wonder how the hell, how do they not watch themselves? Like when protesting was going on, and then you heard about the news clip from North Carolina that said that these cops were caught on tape saying that they were going to go after black people and take care of them if they have to. And, stuff like that. Like, obviously very offensive language, and I will never go that way. Just kind of blows your mind. Like, how stupid are they? Like, you would think in the worst possible time you would try to be smart. I'm not saying that is the right way to do it, but I'm saying how dumb are you with everything that's going on? And I think we have so much hate in this country. I think it was, honestly kind of built on that. And it is a sad thing to see when people have to fight for their fundamental rights to not be targeted because of their race. And they are. To say that they aren't being is after this, you can't say that. When these guys are coming out, they are cops on tape saying that they are targeting black people in southern states. And why do we keep allowing this to happen? Why don't we observe that there's an issue and we start to work on it and then it slips away? And why do we do that? Why do the politicians just keep acting like they can ignore it and it's going to go away? You can't silence these people. They've been going through this for how long? There's about a young man that I posted on Instagram, and his name is George Steny Jr. I think it's Steny, not Steiny. He was the youngest person executed in the United States, and I believe it was in South Carolina. It's sad. It's really sad. And, all basically based off of race. And basically, these two sisters are murdered in this, it's like a factory town. So, all the employees live in the town. And they live there for free while they work. And there's the black side and there's the white side, and segregated living. And they don't cross to each other's, So these two little girls, they're 11 and 9, are riding their bikes looking for maypops, a flower or something. And they drive past George and his sister on their property. And they asked them, "Have you seen any maypops?" They told her no, and they kept on riding. Well, later that night, when these girls turn up missing, there's a search party. And they come to George's dad's house and ask him if they can help search for the girl. And of course they said yes, because they were active people in the community. And so during the search, George Jr. tells the police that he had seen the girls earlier that day and that they were headed down that way. Well, what ends up happening is he gets targeted for this because he opened his mouth. I'm not saying in a bad way. I don't mean any disrespect, but because he said something, he was trying to be honest about it, they turned it around on him for the murder. And he says, I didn't do it. Like, I didn't do that. I couldn't have done that. And his sister verifies that. She has his alibi. He was with her the entire time. And they basically forced a confession out of him. He was 14. His parents were not allowed to be there. From the time, I believe it's 84 days from the time he was arrested to the time he was murdered. And he saw his parents once. So they find him dead. They question him. He ends up confessing. They say, like, they knew what the weapon was, so they even got him to say, like, that he used it. And then they tried to say later that he was trying to kill the older one so that he could rape the younger one. And it's like, what? And none of it makes sense. All of it was pushed. There was no real evidence. And his own attorney didn't even ask for an appeal. They didn't even really try to, like, fight the case. They just kind of let it happen. Because that public defender or whatever was running for office or something, like as a congressman or some local office or something. So he just wanted to get over it. He didn't even care. And so the system failed badly, like it has for a very long time, when it comes to the treatment of people of any color. And this is a time period where this can happen to anyone, where you could be burned alive, you could be lynched, you could be beaten to death, you could be shot to death. It didn't matter in the South. Like, even honestly now, people, like, they don't get away with it, but it doesn't mean they don't, threaten it. They still burn crosses. They still threaten people. They still go after them. They still call them, racial slurs. They don't go away. They're here in California. I mean, I've seen them. They're still here. And they don't go by white supremacists. They go by white nationalists. It's still alive and well. The same thing was going on then. It's still going on here 70 years later. Anyways, so if we continue it, George is arrested. He sees his parents, like I said, once. They actually have to move. His father's fired from the factory because they forced them out, basically, because if they didn't force them out, the townspeople were going to lynch them. So they left, and they couldn't be anywhere close. And so his mom got to see him once, and he had a 2-hour trial, and the jury deliberated for 10 minutes. He was convicted of murder. He got the death penalty. And when they put him in the chair, he was so small he actually didn't even fit. He was like 120 pounds or something, maybe even less. And the thing, I can't remember what it's called, that goes on their head, it didn't actually fit his head. It ended up falling out, and I believe it electrocuted his face, and it forced his eyeballs out of his head. And it ended up taking a lot more electricity to kill him than it should have, because they didn't even see if they needed to make it better for him. But the whole time he was in jail, he carried around a Bible, and I think that's heartbreaking. And in 2014, his conviction was finally overturned because his family had, they were just afraid to speak up for so many years, because the place where they grew up is not the place now where they live, but I don't blame them either. I think it's really sad, and that his parents never got to see that, and that they had to live their whole life with that, probably that hate and the animosity. And I don't blame them. And we still see this happening. It's happening right now. And I think, we need the police, but maybe they need more training. Maybe they need more like sensibility training, or, more training on breaking things down, I don't know. I'm not the expert. The experts who are at it are going to have to figure it out, because otherwise we're going to continue to have a really, really, really big problem. And what do we do? I look at it as like a human. All people should be treated the same. They shouldn't be judged. We all have our biases. We've all probably said stuff that we shouldn't have said. Biases are a part of who we are, but it doesn't mean they're right, and it doesn't mean you should believe them. You should continue to change yourself and to mold a better person than who you are. Especially if you have kids, you shouldn't teach your kids that. You shouldn't teach your kids to hate other people, or that they have racial slurs, and you should never be the one teaching your kid that. And a ton of people probably grew up with that. No matter if you lived in California or you lived in Alabama, I guarantee you've heard them. I guarantee, if it was school, at home, out in the community somewhere, it happens. But we have to be continuing to change that. And I think, for me, I'm not taking it from a political point. I'm taking it from like a humanity point. Like, all people matter. And when we say, like, oh no, all lives matter, obviously, that's the whole point, right? But the thing is this happening to white people? No. Do Mexican lives matter too? Of course they do. Do Asian American lives matter? Yes. Everyone matters. But right now, we have a huge problem with this. Then maybe if you want to start an All Lives Matter campaign after this isn't going on, but you wouldn't really care. Guaranteed, you wouldn't. The whole All Lives Matter thing would go away if you didn't have to hear Black Lives Matter. But it just infuriates people that they have to hear that, and I think that's what it is. It's like I'm just going to push back against you no matter what. And if it was your kid that was shot by the police, that was, walking home, or, even if your kid was a criminal and you were trying to get them back on the straight and narrow, and you thought there was still hope, right? Because when you have a kid, don't you always have hope that it's going to get better, that they're going to be okay, and then they're running away? Yeah, that's not good. But do you need to kill them? Do you have to shoot him? Did he kill somebody? Did he, beat someone up really bad? Did he assault someone, or sexually assault someone, or rape someone? If it's like a drug charge, why? Because that if it's like a drug addict, they're just going to get out and do it again, because they're an addict until they get help. So, and they're still an addict even after they get help. So the odds of maybe you could have been the one that helped them, but you killed them. And it just, I don't know. I'm not saying that cops are bad people. I'm really not. I know that it's a job that has to be done. That's hard to do. And I think sometimes they do have too much power to make decisions on stuff that they don't know about. And I've been in situations like that, or I've taken care of like adults with mental disabilities, and it looked like he was like angry or going to hurt someone, but that was like my boy, like he's good, trust me. Like I'm telling the cop, like, no, he's fine. Please don't get involved. And they don't listen. All they think about is like, no, I need to do this and this and this. And I'm trying to explain to him that he has a mental disability. He has the brain of a 5-year-old. If you go over there with your gun and all this, the whole cop thing, he's going to flip the fuck out. And sure as hell, he flips the fuck out. And so why? Like sometimes there's just like this ego thing, and I don't understand it. And I know all cops aren't like that. I know that they're good cops, and it's a hard job, and it can drain those guys, and it can be really hard for them to keep going. And I appreciate the job. And I know that they don't always make the best decisions, but to condemn them, all of them, for the acts of some of them, isn't right. But we need new training. We need to figure something out. Those guys that are professionals in that are law enforcement officers, and they're involved in law enforcement and all that kind of criminal justice, those guys have to come up with something more developed. Or maybe it doesn't need to be as far as like physical training as it does mental training. You know, I would love to see anything that would help, any solution that's thrown out there, anyone who has an idea. And I hate this because, like, when I say this, people call me a liberal or whatever, and that just irritates me because I hate when people label other people with political labels, because it's not like that. I think that if everyone were in the position of that other person, they would probably feel the same, that they would want that kid's life to matter. And I think, isn't that what it comes down to, is just making sure that we do the right thing. I mean, in Aurora, California, but he made there was a huge long on the body cam recording of him talking, where he was saying, like, I'm not a bad person. I have a good job. I don't do drugs. I don't smoke. I'm just going to get iced tea. Like, I've never done anything bad. And he's like, dressed in slacks and like like nice clothes. Like it just kind of blows you. You're like, why are they going after this kid in the first place? So he was walking home wearing a ski mask and dancing to music on August 24th, 2019, which, okay, he was wearing a ski mask. When someone called 911 to report him as suspicious, police tried to stop him, but he kept walking, insisting he had done nothing wrong, had a right to continue his walk, which is fair. And I would probably also be scared of the police. Then they tackled him, placed him in a chokehold, and restrained him. A paramedic who arrived on the scene later injected him with ketamine to subdue him. McLean had a heart attack while being taken to the hospital. He suffered brain damage and was placed on life support until he died on August 30, 2019, the Denver Post reported. After internal investigation, the Aurora Police Department found the officers involved in the stop had acted with the bounds of acceptable policy and training. The local district attorney declined to prosecute any criminal charges related to McLean's death. So basically, they found that it wasn't that was within policy or whatever, but the city is going to be under a lot of scrutiny with it because of the way that it happened, and now all the national support it's getting. The governor vowed to look back into it. The city right now is trying to get it re-examined, because every person they hire ends up being a former police officer. So it's kind of like we have situations like that. And I don't think anyone probably heard that whole thing. So might have. I don't know. We'll see. I can add it in later. Just sad, man. It really is, because like, these are people. What if it was like, one of us in their shoes, and there's a problem in this country. And there's a problem everywhere. Everywhere we turn around, there's a problem. But this is something I think we can actually do something about. We can make a dent. I'm proud of our generation for being the ones that stand up and take a step, because that's not always I'm not the best at that. And so for me to even make this video, for me, is like a hard thing to do, because I'm not that I'm afraid of the criticism. I don't really care. It's that, like, hearing it makes my brain go crazy. I don't know why, but it's just the way I am, I guess. But this is my way of saying, like, that's what I support. I support Black Lives Matter. I support these people fighting for their rights. And if you don't, then you have a problem. Honestly, that's my opinion. I really don't want to debate it with people. I don't really care what you think about it. But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying you need to treat a human being like a human being should be treated. And even if they do dumb things, or they've done bad things, or it doesn't matter. You still can't kill people. It still doesn't make it acceptable. And I hope they can't live with themselves for the crap that they do. The ridiculous things like the Elijah McClain thing. I hope those fucking guys really, really have to think about what they did. They may never do any time for what they did, and they may be cops for the rest of their careers. But I hope you have to think about that kid every single night you go to bed. So, okay, let's move on. It's exciting. They're in Orlando at the Disney facility or whatever it's called, where they have the courts and the hotel and all that stuff. I heard a lot of those guys complaining about the meals and stuff, but I know it sucks for them, but I mean, they're just not used to it. I honestly think the guys that just came out of college are probably used to that way more than the guys that have been in the league for years, but just because it's more like being in a dorm. It's more like dorm food, and it's probably crappy and like disgusting, but you know, at least they're playing again. I mean, that's where I would be happy just to be there. I saw there was some interesting signings over this period. Jamal Crawford, J.R. Smith. I can't believe that guy's getting back in somehow. And there's a few teams I really want to see play. And I saw Zion Williamson basically just worked out the whole time. Like he was saying that he did a lot of core strengths. And he like really went back to the beginning and worked on, you know, like a lot of stuff. And they said he looked so trim when he came back. And like, I watched him warm up or whatever, doing some dunks, and I can't tell the difference. He's still a monster. I mean, I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's probably shaved off 20, 25 pounds, been eating good, been working out, and he's feeling good. And that dude is just a monster. I was just watching him against the other guys, like on the Pelicans, that are a lot taller than 5 to 6 inches taller than him, and he just bodies them like nothing. So I'm excited to see that. You know, I wasn't sure how I felt about it, but it would be cool to see some games, and I'd love to see my Celtics, you know, get a championship. By the way, I'm a huge Celtics fan, and I mean, I don't think NHL is coming back. I think the MLB finally just decided what they were doing. I think it's hard because, you know, like soccer's been playing or whatever. And I think it's just hard for them to figure out what to do because they don't want to, like, you can't really plan anything because you don't know when the curve is going to change. And that's kind of what's been happening for a lot of the teams. And then especially with the protesting, a lot of guys are just saying, no, I'm not playing. This is my way of standing up and saying no, which is cool. If that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. And I don't think anyone's going to judge you on that. But I mean, it's crazy times. We're like just trying to figure out what the fuck's going on right now. You know, like I was saying earlier, like my wife can't even. She's going to be a first-year teacher. She can't even play anything out because she doesn't know if she's going to have to just teach kids in person and online, or if she's going to be teaching all online. Because then you have to change everything. Then you can't do activities, and you have to have more. When you can do activities, but you can't do like more stuff you would do in the classroom. You kind of have to like really start thinking about ways to impact these kids from home and keeping them focused. It's hard. I can't even sit through a whole lecture on Zoom live, which I don't know. Maybe that's ADD or whatever. But yeah, we're gonna keep posting videos. I'm actually thinking about doing another podcast too. I'm a really big fan of Trailer Park Boys, so I was thinking about doing a Trailer Park Boys Rewind podcast, and maybe I could get some people to subscribe to that too, and maybe start watching the show or something. It'd be cool. Yeah, so I guess that's it. That's all I kind of want to say. I hope it didn't sound, and if anyone misconstrued anything I said or took it in a bad way, please don't. I want all people to be loved and be happy and all kinds of stuff. I didn't mean if the language is wrong or anything. I apologize, but this has been honestly like really therapeutic for me. And thank you YouTube, I guess, for letting me post it or whatever. I appreciate it. Thank you guys. We'll see you in a couple days. Thank you all for listening today. We appreciate it. We hope that you'll tune in for the next episode. Have a great day.